We haven't talked about the Detroit Tigers in a long time, but I will tell you, in a 3-year stretch from 1974 to 1976, 1970, if anybody remember those days, anybody born then? There's a lot of guys in the chat room that weren't even born then. The Detroit Tigers drafted Mark Friedrich, Jake Morris, Lance Parrish, Dan Petrie, Ozzie Smith, Jason Thompson, Alan Trammell, and Lou Whitaker. What happened? Right? What happened? What happened to the Tigers? Right? What happened to the Tigers? Now, Chirinos going to earn 5.7 in 2020. Got an option, the Texas Rangers option in 21. He has to deal with the Rangers now. Look, Texas Rangers admit they made a mistake when they let him go. And so they had to pay the price, okay? They reached an agreement on a contract to reunite with Robinson Chirinos after that 1 year separation. 1 year separation. All right? The Dodgers, one of the best teams in baseball, that's right. Born in 75. Who was born in 75? Andrea. You were born in 75? Right? But you had an awakening when you met me, right? That's for sure. Oh, we got a great chat room. White Sox Gal is here. Kevin has just arrived. And as I mentioned before, let's give Kevin and Phil, since they're both in the chat room now, they're just rewards. They're just do. We are, we are all partially, I'll use the word not responsible, but we have been we found Kevin and Phil before anybody else, right? They would have found somebody else. They would have found their way into the industry, but we embraced them. We all realize how many times you guys have called me to say, hey, this guy Phil's pretty good, all right? This guy Kevin's pretty good, right? There you go. We love you guys, and they're in this Peter Kreitzer magazine. If you want to find out where to get it, it's at Barnes & Noble. And if you have any problems, just give me a call. 516-353-6375. And when you write on Facebook about how pleased you are, mention the chat room, for crying out loud. Come on, because that's where we go. Come to the chat room. You get greeted by all these people, and everybody loves you. So let's give the chat room. It's the chat room that did it. Not me. Chat room. There you go. Mention that chat room, man. Because we are all a team, okay? And if Phil and Kevin are in the magazine, so is the chat room. So, look, the Rangers have been after Chirinos for a while. There's a buyout, the whole thing. We don't care about that. But I will tell you, they made a decision. They thought Jeff Mathis and his pitch framing would be more value than Chirinos' power, so they signed Mathis, okay? But Chirinos is likely to hit 15 to 20 home runs. Now, don't forget, Mathis only hit about 160, okay? And Chirinos hit 240 in 114 games, 360 plate appearances, something like that, close to it. So now the Rangers have spent time trying to find a right-handed bat. As I mentioned, they've talked to free agents Nick Castellanos and Todd Frazier. They've investigated in a trade for Nolan Arenado. Chirinos hit 17 home runs, his third straight year with at least 15 homers. His stats were significantly better at Minute Maid Park than on the road. But while the Astros, in this scandal, look, don't forget, Chirinos, this could put the Rangers in kind of a squirmy position. They could have 3 catchers. Now, teams traditionally keep only 2, okay? But they got this guy Falafa, they got Trevino, and they got Mathis. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. The Chicago Cubs, it seems inconceivable that a grievance over the 2015 dispute remains unsolved. The dispute over whether or not Bryant, when they held him back for service time, this is unresolved. All right, 5 years later, waiting and wondering. Come on, you want to talk about pace of play, increasing the pace of play? Make a freaking decision so the Cubs can make a trade. Okay, it's dragging on. Okay, dragging on. So relax, everybody relax, okay? not until the Cubs get a Bryant decision, and they're frozen. So they expect it within the next week or so. If the arbitrator rules in favor of Chris Bryant and declares him a free agent at the end of 2020, he would in theory become harder to trade with free agency looming next winter. If the rules sides with the Cubs, then Bryant's contract would continue to run through 2021, an attractive 2 seasons of control for potential trade partners. See, it's not the opposite. All right, the Cubs still want that thing so they can have 2 years and they get much more for him. So many believe that the Cubs would make a mistake by trading Bryant. He's still among baseball's top 25 players, but the team could win by losing the grievance. Forfeiting an extra year of control would sting Theo Epstein, but also make teams more unwilling to give up top prospects for a lone season, and maybe the Cubbies would have to cape him. You remember how the best deals are the ones that we didn't make? So, look, if he leaves Chicago and wishes to, maybe the White Sox will take him and wishes to spend his whole career with the Cubs, now would be the time for him to remind Scott Boras that the agent works for the player. So, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. Very interesting. Free agent spending. We all know the Yankees and Nats, but it's the free agents. The Cubs have not spent anything in free agents. The Pirates have not spent anything. The Rockies have not spent anything. The Mariners about $2.9 million. The Orioles have spent more, $3 million. Kansas City, 3.6, Cleveland, 6.2. The Dodgers only $10 million. The Red Sox, $9 million. The Astros, $15 million. Bull Dinky and Poppycock, Major League Baseball, absolutely has to take a different position. Okay, let's go to the team of the day. That's the Philadelphia Phillies. If you want to go back, look at recent posts. If you want the link to any team, just send me an email, lennymelnick@gmail.com, or give me a call, 516-353-6375. The Phillies, okay, went to the winter meetings, and they needed, they did not want to push the payroll behind the luxury tax threshold. Remember last year they had money to burn? All right, so they're deferring on big moves until the trading deadline in July, okay? They intend to stay below the $208 million trading deadline. They did get Didi Gregorius. They did get Zach Wheeler, okay? And that we know. But Middleton, who spent on Jake Arrieta, spent on Bryce Harper, okay? The whole deal. Unlocking Zach Wheeler, that's going to be the key. They talk about Zach Wheeler in terms of his pitch mix, and that's something that they think they can work on. We all know how many times a player gets traded. Look at Houston, right? They have reclaimed so many pitchers. Look at Houston. White Sox Al, good morning to you. They think they can, by simply changing the pitch mix. Okay, hold on a second. President Trump will be a few more minutes, okay? A few minutes. So just by changing, 2 years ago, the Astros encouraged Garrett Cole to throw more fastballs at the top of the strike zone. They told him to lean on his curveball. They told him to ditch his sinker, and that strategy turned him from an all-star into the best pitcher in baseball. Now, could that happen to Zach Wheeler? I suggest that the Phillies believe he may benefit by altering his pitch mix, and when you hear that, that's a reason why Zach Wheeler could finally be the star that the Mets hoped he would be. So in your draft, you want to take a shot, go the extra dollar on Zach Wheeler, okay? His 2018 breakout season, came when the Mets convinced him to unleash the full power of his fastball rather than pacing himself. Now there's a sense that he might benefit from using his curveball more than 10% of the time, which is what he did over the last 2 years. So, I take the position a lot's been expected of Wheeler, and if you look at Wheeler as the next Garrett Cole, back it up, man. Go the extra dollar on Zach Wheeler. All right? $27 million. They have David Robertson, Tommy Hunter, and Pat Neshek, who worked a lot. Not exactly great value, so they had to make some changes. Okay? The top prospect, and we'll get to that in a second, Spencer Howard. Okay? Spencer Howard, and we'll get over the prospects in just a second. He's expected to be ready for the big leagues at some point in 2020. They expect him to make his debut this year. They're mindful he threw 92 pitches last season, including the Arizona Fall League, so his workload is going to have to be watched. Anybody expecting Spencer Howard to be a star this year, forget about it, okay? Forget about it. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. And, all right, let's get through the let's go through the lineup for the Phillies. I don't have to tell you a lot about JT Realmuto, arguably the best catcher in Major League Baseball. Rhys Hoskins is the answer to the trivia question from yesterday, and I forgot what it was. All right, but anyway, Hoskins, who slumped off really bad last year. Remember? Hoskins, we all expected Hoskins to be such a star. But how much are we going to spend on Rhys Hoskins this year in a 260 format? Mixed league, 12 teams. I project Hoskins to hit about 240, 30-plus homers, 90 RBIs, 1 stolen base. He didn't have to play left field. He didn't have to carry the Phillies' offense on his own because of Bryce Harper. But his offensive performance really took a step back everywhere, in every way, shape, or form. All right, he had a good walk rate, about 16%. That's the 5th highest among qualified hitters. So, and those numbers aren't really good enough for a first baseman on a contending team. Okay, so I'm not looking for another regression. I am looking for a progression. And I think that Hoskins could hit 35 home runs, okay? Last year, he only hit 29, hit about 225. So I'm taking Rhys Hoskins, big bounce-back player this year, okay? At second base, Gene Segura, and they have Josh Harrison. And with Segura, you got to take the position with Segura. Very simple. Gene Segura. He's going to steal your bases, that we know. My projection on Gene Segura, hit about 290 with 15 homers, 15 to 20 stolen bases. He is hitting now in that hitter-friendly home park, stronger lineup, the whole thing. He's but his steals in 2019 dropped from 20 to 10. That was a bit of a problem. I think they're going to pick up again. His stolen base attempt, really, this is crazy. 31 to 12, but still he was 10 for 12. So that was a strategic decision which could change this year with a new manager. Kapler did not like to steal. Okay? He is entering his age 30 season, but don't forget, we got a new manager. You take a look at the history. Kapler was not a running manager. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but there's a pretty good chance. The only way to win in fantasy baseball. And by the way, I don't know what we opened, but I think we're down a little bit, Brooks. But the only way to win in fantasy sports, sometimes you got to take a chance. So taking a chance on Segura, not the end of the world. But new manager, don't forget it. That's a big freaking deal. As we move right along here, who's going to play shortstop? You know about DD. Didi, the left-handed hitter. You only got left-handed hitting Didi Gregorius and Bryce Harper.